Well, the floor is now open for the interactive session, which is one of the most important and interesting parts of today's webinar. I would like to request our participants to ask their questions regarding to this topic. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Mohammad Ashikul Islam Ridar. I am from DHSM batch 20. My question is to Dr. Ainun Nisha sir. Sir, do you think reducing the vulnerability of a community and increasing better adaptation plans can be control worldwide climate change? Thank you, sir.
As I said, we'll not be able to control global climate change. It is going to happen. And the increase of temperature, that is the trigger, and that would lead to changes in the seasonal climatic pattern. And that would be the main cause of food shortage or food loss of food grain production. We will have flood, drought, and I have given you the list of the adverse impacts of the climatic factors. So we need to prepare the local communities. They would be ready on that. The previous pattern of the climatic behavior, we could say, 10 years, actually when I was teaching in Buet, I used to teach hydrology. And in first few classes, I would talk to students from various, who have come to my class from various parts of the country, and develop a good understanding of the climatic behavior of his or her own area. I could jokingly say that rainfall would start in Borguna on 15th May. There would be rainfall in Dhaka on 2nd June. And there would be rain in Dinajpur on 1st of July. And the withdrawal of rainfall from Dinajpur would be from the 15th of September, and Dhaka would be free of rainfall by end of September, no rain. And the dates were fixed. Now it does not happen. Instead of June, it may start raining in April. So 1 or 2 months changes in rainfall pattern is very important. The farmers understand it. So that diagram on changes in season that I have shown you is based on consultation with local communities. I have been visiting Satkira area from 2002 regularly, and talking to farmers, I have developed that chart. So the local communities must be prepared, and for them, they need support with various types of cultivars of crop. We need salt tolerant variety of rice, drought tolerant, submersion tolerant, heat tolerant, and shorter duration. Of the 5 types, we have the 4 types more or less ready, but we must understand their limitation. People say, and policymakers say that we have salt tolerant variety of rice. Sorry, the rice that is available, the cultivar, can tolerate up to say 6-7 ppt, parts per 1,000 micromoles of salinity. Satkira has a salinity of 15 to 20. Go to Gabura, that will be 20 to 30 ppt. So for them, we do not have any cultivar. So we have to provide more scientific products or support them and provide them with alternative forms of livelihood. We need to solve the problem related to health, but as we find livelihood, food security, livelihood is an indirect form of food security. That is the main threat for the whole world as well as Bangladesh, and we must prepare for this. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Second question, please.
Assalamu alaikum, sir. First of all, sir, thank you for being with us here today. Sir, I am Afra from DHSM 19. Sir, I've read many of your articles, and so to see you today and hearing from you and also getting the chance to ask you a question is a huge opportunity for me. So, sir, I would like to ask you that as a developing country, which strategy should be more focused on? Reducing the vulnerability or increasing better adaptation plan?
Okay, if you see my last slide, possibly the last one, I have very clearly said, we cannot do anything about controlling vulnerability. Bangladesh contributes hardly 0.3% of global emission. If we stop tomorrow all our sources of greenhouse gases, like stop all car, all buses, we stop our agriculture, we do not produce methane, no urban waste, no industrial activity, no vehicular activity, or in other words, zero greenhouse gases, nothing would happen to the climatic adverse impacts at the global level. So, yes, you can control vulnerability by developing protection against those disasters. Like we have the embankments. 80% of the country is flood protected against flood. Then why 4 floods happened last year? Because the embankments failed. So it is infrastructure that we need, we have it, but we don't have the proper management and maintenance mechanism. We have the coastal dikes. We have 3 major cyclones in last 6 months or last 1 year: Amphan, Foni, and Bulbul. And we have 5-meter high dikes. Still, Amphan caused some problem because the dikes or embankments or polders were not properly managed or maintained. This year in the month of April, just last month, in March, not April, March and April, lots of dikes breached. Why? So this is due to lack of proper maintenance. Who should do it? Is the central government? I say yes, the government should provide funding and resources, but this responsibility should be taken up by the local community. Without involvement of the local community, effective involvement of the local government institution, you cannot manage the natural disaster. Climate change is going to increase the intensity and frequency of natural disaster. That indirectly or that directly affects food grain security, food security. So the food security and livelihood security and health security are all result of this increased level of natural disaster. So we have to manage the natural disaster that would be occurring at a higher intensity and frequency, and we need to push for effective community-based disaster management. The government is working on that line. On cyclones, they have developed a big battalion or big group of volunteers for cyclone warning dissemination, but we need to do a lot of work in developing the cyclone shelters. We still do not practice search and rescue after every disaster. We do not have good management of the cyclone shelters and flood shelters. So we need to upgrade our capacity on disaster management. And that is why I believe the BOP authorities have set up a Department of Disaster Management and Human Security and to develop the trained personnel in the country. My first slide said climate change is real. There are only 2 persons in the world who did not believe in climate change. One was Donald Trump. Luckily, he has been defeated in the election, but he has left a huge followers who blindly follow whatever Donald Trump had said. And we have some people in Bangladesh, 1 or 2 persons, who are really confused. But there is legally no doubt in the world, in mind of any citizen of any country, because all countries of the world in December 2015 have signed the Paris Agreement voluntarily. All countries are sovereign, but all countries have signed the document. Climate change is real, and we must act proactively. And they have signed a document, the law, which is now being developed into operation level. So hopefully by 2022-23, we'll have legally binding document. So every country would have to follow the dictum. That law has not been developed. The discussion has continued in 16, 17, 18, and 19. And hopefully it will continue in 2021. It will not be, the negotiation would not be completed in 2021. We still need to discuss on something on mitigation and something on loss and damage. also on the financing mechanism. But world has committed that they would push for proper adaptation. And please remember, all countries of the world would suffer. And whether we are 7th or number 1 in the world does not matter. If we go by 8 or 10 parameters, how to assess how vulnerable you are, in each of the parameters, like flooding, drought, and riverbank erosion, and etc., we will be in the top 10. And 10, 15 years, we are the worst affected country. Now, in the statistical approach, we use data for last 30 years. When the data of 1991, the death figures were dropped out, then we became 7th. Otherwise, under all counts, we are one of the top. But there is no glory in claiming that you are the most vulnerable country. But you are one of the most vulnerable country. But we are also one of the most prepared country. But our preparation is not adequate. We need to improve on it. And this is what we are going to recommend through MAP document, which hopefully will be finalized by end of this year.
Sir, thank you very much, sir. In fact, sir, you are very correctly said that the local government and the local community should be activated. Like I have the experience of serving the Jhalakati district immediately after the zero destruction. And the fallacy was the water around, but no water to drink or use. And we had to use lime for cleaning the water. We had to use the P07, the pond sand filter, to purify the water for drinking. So many steps were taken activating the local people. Sir, you're very correct. Thank you very much, sir. Right, now the next question.
Assalamu alaikum, sir. Thank you very much for your informative session. I am Muhammad Rakul Islam, DHSM Honors Second Year. And I'd like to ask you this question. As we know, many companies are trying to build environment-friendly technologies. However, it is difficult to adopt these technologies for the general people due to the high cost. So how can our government and companies work together to solve this issue? How can our researchers help in this regard?
Sorry, could you repeat what the companies are trying to develop?
Sir, how could our government and companies together could solve the issue? Companies are trying to develop environment-friendly technology.
Okay. It is an obligation of the private companies as well as the nation together to push for climate-friendly or not climate, environment-friendly technologies. And if you go for environment-friendly technology, obviously that will be climate-friendly technology also. The country has given a mandate to the managers of the country, to the policymakers of the country, that anything that is done in the country will be environment friendly. Through amendment of the Constitution back in 2011, through Article 18A. Article 18A of our Constitution, added very recently, says that the country should protect environment, ecosystem, biodiversity, forestry, wetlands, etc. So this is not a matter to be debated. You have to do it. There's the mandate of there's the law of this country, or there's the basis by which the country is managed. Now the private sector, to make more profit, often does pollute and do not go for ETPs, or their production method is not environment friendly. That's not an excuse. So, but again, yes, private sector has a role in some activities related to adaptation, but their main role would be in the sector of mitigation. On adaptation, maybe drinking water supply and some of the provision of seed, the improved varieties, etc., possibly could be handled by private sector. But private sector in general, Bangladesh, they are not responsive to capacity building, they are responsive to climate friendly or environment friendly approach. They have to be brought under control. The law must be enforced on them. They even do not talk about environment friendly technologies. So our private sector has to go a long way, and government has to be strict so that they follow the national directives or the targets that have been set up at the national level. Thank you.
Sir, thank you very much, sir. Right. Students, if you have any question, welcome.
Assalamu alaikum, sir. Thank you very much for your valuable speech again. I'm Fariha Farooq from DHSM 19. Currently, I'm on my 5th semester of 3rd year. Sir, as we know, you were one of the key members of Bangladesh Climate Change and Action Plan 2008 and 2009. So, sir, can you please share your thoughts about what kind of visible changes Bangladesh could make through that action plan?
So you were talking about action plan Bangladesh is going to develop for Bangladesh?
Yes, sir, the action plan that have been made on 2008 and 2009.
Okay. Okay, if you go through internet and download BCC SAP 2009, is very easy to locate it. BCC SAP, Bangladesh Climate Change Strategy and Action Plan. You will see a very short document, is about 35-40 pages on the written part, which talks about the approach, how it has been developed, and it says we should take a 6-pronged attack. This, we call it the 6 pillars or 6 thematic groups, and then about 44 pages on 44 programs. So we have detailed out exactly what has to be done in which sector. The top priority has been given on food security, and the first action that we recommended to the government is to develop new cultivars that would be responsive to the changed climatic condition and new cropping pattern. As for example, in BUP, maybe 3-4 years back, when I also gave a keynote speech on climate change, in those days I said, and I have since then talked to MIST and various institutions and also at the government level, that we should come out or approach with new varieties of cultivars. One thing I strongly recommend is to go for shorter duration rice. The good variety of rice or paddy, or good variety of longer duration, good variety almond rice, you need 150, 160, 180 days. But if you can go for 100 days or 90 days crop production, you can avoid the most vulnerable time. Like for the Boro crop, which is the main food grain producer variety of crop in Bangladesh, about 17 million metric ton, 18 million metric ton. They are very vulnerable in May. If it can be harvested by middle of April, if it can be harvested by 31st March, the crop would be safe. And this year, in 25% of the area in Sunamganj and Moli Bazar, and mostly in Sunamganj and Netrokona and Kishoreganj, mostly in Sunamganj, they have gone for the early growing rice. For that, you have to transplant them or plant them earlier. Plant them by January. Plant them by middle of December, which is normally planted around end of January, middle of February. So we need to adjust. So we have given very clear solution or clear recommendation how to approach all the various components on adaptation that we have to undertake. If you ask me why it is not happening, we have done it in 12 years back. Main problem is institutional rigidity. Who is going to do it? Each of the ministry, like on say crop, is it agriculture ministry? It is water ministry. It has under agriculture ministry there is the Department of Agricultural Extension. The seed is provided by somebody else. Fertilizer is provided by somebody else. We need to have a strong coordinated action by the various ministries. So this is what we are pushing for. We need to have better technology. We need to have long-term forecast. Like on flood forecasting, we give 3-day, 5-day forecast very accurately. We give 10 days, 15 days forecast indicator, which is good for disaster management. But for crop production, we need 3-month longer forecast. So the farmer can take a decision when to go for the crop. On cyclone warning, we do not give these warning to ordinary mortals like you or Fariha, like persons like you. These warnings are given to maritime shipping, to the captain of the ship. These are not given to local communities. You have 11 cyclone warning. Did you know you have 11 warning? You
Yes,
hear
sir.
about warning number 10, but do you know there is warning number 11 also? Which means that the equipment in the Met department is not working. People understand warning number 1, 2, 3, they don't care. 4, they understand, yeah, something is wrong because the fisherman has been advised to come back shore. So it is related to livelihood. 5, 6, 7, they understand it is bad. Let's pack up things and be ready to go to a safer place. And 8, 9, 10, they understand one thing. Oh, we must move to shelter. And they mostly are ready to go to shelter when it is warning number 8. They do not understand what is the meaning of 8, 9, 10, or 5, 6, 7. These are not targeted to local people. These are not targeted to ordinary human mortals. I do not know why the government is playing fun. I mean, very soon there could be a legal issue that whether the warning issued by the government are legally valid or legally correct. I do not know why. One of the reasons I could say it boldly before you, the reason possibly is the location of the Met department. Met department is part of the Defense Ministry. Why? Meteorology should not be part of Defense Ministry. This should be part of the Science and Technology. This should be part of disaster management. This should be, you see, flood warning is given by Water Board. Why cyclone warning has to be given by Ministry of Defense? Because there many things are secret. I had been negotiating with government of India on behalf of Bangladesh for many years. And I was involved till 1999. We could not get rainfall data from India because rainfall data was secret because it was under Defense Ministry. Then they changed it. Later on, now they provide data to us on real-time basis. But think of it. In 1989, I was a negotiator for Bangladesh requesting India, would you give us data on rainfall so that we can improve our flood forecasting information? So we need to pay attention to a lot of policy issues, lot of technical detail, and business as usual or the old traditional practices. Where it worked, like cyclone volunteers, cyclone CPP is good. We need to enhance their capacity. Do you know we do not pay anything to these volunteers? We do not give them anything. Even we invite them once a year for some kind of training program, and we do not pay them anything. They should be respected and they should be, some financial compensation should be given. Don't expect the volunteers to work free of cost and risk their life, which they do. Hats off to them. So we need to have hard discussion on many of the issues, which I'm saying loudly in front of the minister, the bureaucrats do not like to do it. The bureaucrats resist any change from business as usual practice. I'm saying it before a group of students and faculty members. And Dean sir, your experience of CDOR, I think would be very useful as you share your experience with the students. So we are doing very good. Our performance is good, but there is scope or opportunity for improvement. And this is what we are going to recommend in our adaptation plan. I like to say something to you. This is not within our topic. As I said, we are also developing the NDC document, which is our commitment on mitigation. In 2015, some international consultant helped us and made a commitment which government picked up, is we'll reduce 5% greenhouse gases on our own by 2030 and 15% if we get support on finance and technology. This time, the responsibility was not given to some international consultant. We undertook the responsibility, the Bangladeshis, with the ministry, formed an interministerial steering committee. We ran through the model and we found that achievement of 15% or 5%, even 5% mitigation is a tall order, because for Bangladesh, ensuring food security, ensuring sustainable development process, ensuring energy security, go for electricity, go for industrialization to create job for the teeming million that is come to employment market is the most important duty of the government. And therefore, our greenhouse gas production would go up. But we produce a tiny amount, so it does not matter to the world. The responsibility of the Western countries is mitigation. And whenever they give support to NGOs and civil society organizations, they say, push your government for mitigation. So I will give you the date, on 23rd December, when we prepared the draft report last December, we said, okay, we'll have to increase it slightly, maybe from 5% to make it 7% or 15% to 17%. We submitted to the government, and Prime Minister's office did not accept our recommendation. The Prime Minister gave a formulation, and hats off to her. Her office gave this instruction. We'll try to do our best. We made a commitment of 5% and 15%. We'll try to keep it. That's it. Prime Minister's office of the Prime Minister very rightly refused to talk about mitigation. To my young friends, please take note of it. That's the correct decision of the Prime Minister. Mitigation is not our job. Mitigation, even if we, as I said, we stop breathing, no carbon dioxide are produced by humans being in Bangladesh, does not matter to the world. It is China, USA, India, and European Union, the 27 countries of European Union plus UK, the 28 countries. If they can stop 18 countries who were invited by Joe Biden, produces 80% of the gas, 18 countries. So it is for those 18 or 25 countries to push for mitigation. And I was surprised many of you asked me question about mitigation. This is a movement by civil society organization very wrongly, because they are pushed by their donors and who are sponsoring them. For Bangladesh, it is adaptation and adaptation and adaptation, and no mitigation. We do not have any responsible at the global level of mitigation. Even then, Bangladesh is officially saying, we'll try to do whatever is possible, but not at the cost of food security, livelihood security, energy security, water security, and health security. My message is very clear and loud. Please take note. Check your literature. Don't read whatever America is saying. Don't follow whatever Germany is saying. They have their obligation. We have our obligation to our poor people. They must be food secure and they must have livelihood security. You see what this COVID is doing to us. We say 80% of the population has fallen below poverty line. And I'm a supporter of the government to keep limited economic activities going on, because while we have to save our life against the COVID pandemic, we also have to have food. So we have to have a combination. And following the safety rules, like wearing mask and maintaining distance and taking vaccine, is possibly the best option. So we need to understand. And for that, I urge upon my young friends to read IPCC report or to read the reports of UN organization. Read the reports produced under the banner of UNDP, FAO, UNEP, UNESCO, Habitat. Don't read the literature produced by civil society organization or NGOs. I work for an NGO. I work BRAC. I'm BRAC's advisor on climate change. These NGOs are dependent on funding. So they are pushing Bangladesh's agenda on mitigation, which have successfully resisted so far and which have been successfully refused by our Honorable Prime Minister to be mainstreamed in Bangladesh. So please understand our own thinking. Please have some faith on the Bangladeshi professionals working on this subject. And we have good documentation on that. Start with the Bangladesh Climate Change Strategy and Action Plan 2009. I took this opportunity to address Honorable Minister Dr. Enamur Rahman. I have participated with him in this discussion and understand or my grassroots. And whenever I talked to him, I found that he has gone to the local community to find out exactly what is problem with them. And I believe that he would be the bridge between disaster management and climate change. The climate change people talk about future, what is going to happen in future. And the climate change based on Sendai Agreement or Sendai guideline take decision based on the past effect. So what has happened in past, the worst impacts or worst climatic natural disaster, and be ready for that. What we are recommending, there is no difference between disaster management and climate change adaptation. Only major difference is you plan based on what could happen in future. We are going to produce a document, as I said in the NAP, what could happen in 2030, 2041, and 2050 and 2100. So 2050 is our target, what would happen in next 30, 40 years, and prepare our disaster management related activities based on that. I do not see any, there should be any gap in thinking between disaster management or ministry and climate change ministry. They should work together. And we have to pay attention in involving the local community. I would again emphasize on the role of the local elected people. The government is also already pushing through union parishads and upazila parishads. And this is the level on which I would like to give emphasis. The National Assembly, the MPs have a different job to run the country, to manage the concerns of the local community, the local elected persons. Maybe they can be guided by the members of National Parliament, but that should be the approach. And Disaster Management Ministry has an excellent document called Standing Order on Disaster that was produced under Flood Action Plan component number 11, on which I had the privilege of working with them. Thank you.
Sir, thank you very much. Sir, I have another question. Sir, do you think adaptation?
I think we can take the question of other. We're running short of time as well, right?
Okay, sir.
Thank you very much. Any other question from anybody? Last question.
Assalamu alaikum, sir. This is Sumara Sultana. I have completed my honors and masters from the Department of Disaster and Human Security Management from Bangladesh University of Professionals. I don't have any questions actually. I'd like to share some things with Dr. Ainul Nishad sir. I have the privilege to work with Dr. Ainul Nishad sir in the Center of Climate Change C3 year in BRAC University as a research assistant, and I am very fortunate that during my the applications for the higher education, sir has provided me with his valuable recommendation letter, and I would like to take this opportunity to share a good news with Dr. Ainul Nishad sir that I have been actually offered a funded PhD opportunity in the Florida International University, and I take this opportunity to thank you, sir, for guiding me and helping me to learn a lot from you. And I have actually, during the work experience, I have learned a lot of practical knowledges from it. So thank you, sir.
Thank you, Munia, and congratulations. Unfortunately, I didn't have any formal training on disaster management. I have visited, I go out whenever there is a problem, or through my various professional work, I visited different parts of Bangladesh and learned from the local community and learned by talking to people like you and people, the government officials and the professionals. Thank you very much. My last statement at this stage would be, my door is open. Any of you, you can call me anytime and ask question, and I always try to respond. As in last, during my session, I had to receive three phone calls, two from journalists, and I said I will call back later, sent an SMS, and one from the ministry. They wanted a decision, and the additional secretary called me, and within 30 seconds, I gave him a reply and said I will elaborate later on. My door is open. You can call me anytime on any issue, ask me question, and whatever knowledge I have is ready to be shared with you. Thank you very much. And thank BUP and Dean sir for giving me this honor. Thank you.
Sir, thank you very much, sir. We are really honored to get you amongst us, sir. You are the asset for the country, for the nation, for the whole world, basically, sir. So thank you very much for being with us. Sir, you'll be happy to know that in 2018, at the part of my National Defense College, I visited the Bangladesh Rice Research Institute, and I found they are making this rice seasonal variants, and seems to be quite effective on ground. So they're doing a good job, sir. You'll be happy to know. And sir, I had the scope of participating in 4th ICBEN, International Conference on Bangladesh Environment, where you were also there, sir. I was very happy to see the one invention of one science group, that the radio net they're using to give the warning to the local people, they showed on ground. So my request will be, if we can really get it to the mass people in a mass way. The technique is very simple. We can warn the local people, as you had been saying, that is very important for us. So we can really capitalize that. And you are very correct in saying that we should not, our students should not rely on the NGOs solely, because I had also similar experience. Once on 15th November 2007, the disaster of Sidor came up. I found within 7 days, 50 NGOs raised bond within 7 days. And they had their own vested interest. So that's how our students also should realize the practical application of all these problems. So thank you very much, sir, for enriching our knowledge. So with this, the question and answer session we are ending. Over to the presenter, please.